Zhang versus Joyce. Reaction, more reaction, and more things to talk about on Bwtm Sports Gaming. So Joyce has just done an interview with TNT Sports, and I'd like to break down what Joyce had to say. In first time ever on Bwtm Sports, we're going to go one step further. I'm going to give Joyce some advice. Stay tuned. You're going to like this one. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Bwtm Sports' second video. Yep, spoiling you all tonight. 2 videos in a night. And it's back with Joyce and Zhang. Joyce getting zanged by Zhang. This time coming in heavier and getting knocked sparkle by the right hand of the southpaw Zhang. Last time it was the left hand that did damage. This time it was the right hand with a significantly heavier Joyce. Derek Chisora was asked on his opinion as to what he thinks about Joyce being heavier. Derek Chisora's response is, cut with the bullshit. He's heavy. He trained for the first fight and he was lighter. So now he's going to rematch and he's going to be heavier. That's BS. As far as I'm concerned, Joyce didn't train for the fight. So that's Derek Chisora saying that. And then Derek Chisora goes and say, well, if Joyce loses, then is that the end of the road? And Derek Chisora says, no, well, you shouldn't really look at it that way. If Joyce loses a fight, he comes back and he wins another fight. He says, Man City for years were getting beat. They came back and they won a fight. They won, and now they're topping the league. He says you got to look at the heavyweight division like the Premiership. You lose a fight, you come back. You lose a fight, you come back, and win. And that's the Derek Chisora mentality. And he's doing all right for himself financially. I don't know about the idea of the amount of punches Derek's taken and at this point in his career, but he's the one who's basically saying, Derek Chisora, that okay, Joyce, if you lose, you can come back and fight someone else. And I agree. He can come back and fight someone else. And I do agree the whole Premiership idea. But Joyce is now like 40 now, right? Or close to 40. I don't want to talk about that. So now Joyce has actually come out and spoken to TNT Media, the sports. And Joyce said that Zhang is a tricky southpaw. He's a very good fighter, Olympic silver medalist like himself. Admitted that that Zhang was a step too far, admitted that he could have taken different options, but he took the Zhang fight. I go back and think that Joyce was set up with this fight. What made Joyce take the Zhang fight? Joshua didn't want any piece of him. Fury didn't want any piece of him. White didn't want any piece of him. But you wanted a piece of him. For what reason? That's the first thing. Second thing, Joyce said that he is going to take some time out and watch the video, and then he's going to talk with his team. Right. Joyce, this is a message from me to you. Here's my advice to you. You can take it or let it alone. But the advice I'm giving you is better than your team, your management, and people around you. These are my thoughts to you, Joyce. First and foremost, I would never look at that video with you and Zhang again. Do you know why? Because you're not going to fight anybody like Zhang again. Unless you're going to fight Zhang again, that mind should be out of your mindset. You can't beat Zhang. So there's no point in looking at a fighter that you definitely cannot beat. That does nothing for your confidence. 1, 2. If I'm you talking to your team, the only thing you should be saying to your team at this point in time is you're sacked, and you're sacked. Your trainer needs to be sacked. Your manager needs to be sacked. Both of them needs to be sacked effectively media tonight. sacked or tomorrow morning. Both of them need to be sacked. Gone. Adam Morley, gone. That flipping ballerina of a trainer you got, gone. Bring in either three. You can look at Stacey McKinley. You can look at James Elbisher. Look at the OGs within the heavyweight division for trainers. Even bring in Sean George as your trainer. Those are three guys I would look at to get you the sort of training you need to have to get yourself back in the heavyweight picture. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you do, you can't afford to be taking too much time out. You really can't because of your age. You know, if you take a month or two out, obviously you've got to take time out to because I think you get knocked out now. So I think it's, I don't know, is it 3 months, 90 days? Don't know what the rules are. But in terms of that situation, during that time, you should be getting yourself with a new trainer and a new management team and rebranding yourself. Get the hell out of the UK, get the hell out of Las Vegas, get training with someone like James Elbisher, get yourself out of the limelight, get yourself away from British media. And what you really need to be doing is getting fighters that suit your style. Stay away from southpaws because southpaws don't do you any favors. The only southpaw that you need to be worrying about is Usyk, but you got a long way to think before Usyk, and Usyk may get beat before then. In the time being, get yourself back as soon as possible. Get a warm-up fight. Make sure this year, what are we now? September, October, November, December. Make sure you are back in the ring by December if you can. Get back in the ring December, a warm-up fight, just to get your confidence back against a guy that's in the top 20. Get yourself back in, you know, against a guy in the top 20 by the end of the year. Get a new management team. Get a management team that will manage you to the heavyweight championship of the world. Get rid of Adam Morley because that guy is going to finish your career off for you. Because that guy was talking a whole heap of rubbish. The advice that he gave him, the fact that he allowed you to even get in the ring and fight Zhang in the first place was absolute nonsense. And he was up there talking nonsense about, oh, the amount of punches Joyce can throw around, all this garbage. Get rid of him and get rid of Salas because Salas made no difference between the first fight and the second fight. And I told you about Ishmael Salas already. Get rid of him. Those two need to go ASAP. Adam Morley to do what? Who is he guided to the heavyweight championship of the world? You know, get those guys out of the way. Get those jokers completely out of the ring and get yourselves with people who have done something in their heavyweight division. You're playing with your career now. Get people who know about heavyweight boxing. Get some advice from people who have got heavyweight knowledge and have done something in the heavyweight division. We've got knowledge of the heavyweight division. And no, not Jonathan Banks. Please, not Jonathan Banks. But you need a heavyweight trainer. You need to do that ASAP. So in the time that you have to recover from being knocked out, that's, I think it's 90 days or whatever it was, 30 days, whatever it is, take that time to reassess your team. You should say, pardon my French here, jack shit to your team. There's nothing you can tell your team because they're not a team. They are not a team. Not a team of success anyway. They need to be sacked straight away. If not tonight, tomorrow morning, before you get out of the hotel room, sit them down and say, you know what? Thank you guys, right? When we leave this place here to this hotel room, you need to be leaving out of my life. Don't come back. I don't know why you took the Zhang fight. You were badly advised, and for that, the manager needs to be sacked. And your trainer needs to be sacked. Absolutely. I mean, you tell me how you said the fight was a step too far for you. The fight was a step too far for you. The fact you hadn't fought a southpaw, but like, what was the point? If you had fought Usyk, I would have understood that because you were fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. Why are you taking a step too far against Zhang? I told you, you've been set up. Set up. I don't know if your manager did that. I don't know if your trainer did that. I don't know if your promoter did that. I don't know if they're all in on joke. But you need a proper advisor. You need a proper advisor in your team. You know what? If you could sign for Al Heyman, go and sell Al Heyman. I don't know what your deal is like now. Sign for Al Heyman. Get someone who's going to advise you, man. I don't know who, but get someone to advise you. Do Joyce team care about him? Major question. No, they care about themselves and their own egos. Unfortunately, Joyce became boxing advertising for Zhang. Yeah, he did. It did. But that's their own fault because their own egos their own egos, their own pride, and the lack of knowledge and a lack of research and a lack of respect for the opposition. Adam Morley should be nowhere near Joe Joyce again. He has ruined the career of Joe Joyce. He's the manager. Manage means to manage. You did not manage. What's the difference between me and Joe Joyce's manager? In fact, I think I'd do a better job than Joe Joyce's manager. I would do a better job right here now because I would never have taken the Zhang fight. For what? What did it achieve? And then the same guys that advise you to go into that fight, and the same guys you're going to go back to again. That's like somebody stabbing you in your back and stabbing you in front, and you're going back to them again. I don't trust your team, and I am not part of Joe Joyce's team. They have to go. It's business. Nothing personal, business. And you're the only one who can really make that executive decision. You're the only one. And I am sure that you were advised against that fight. I am sure. But I don't know if it's ego or pride or ignorance within Joe Joyce. I don't know which one it is. Something's not right there in that team. Something's not right. If it's Joyce and his decision-making or the management team around him, but something is not right in that team. Not right. But I bet you, give it a month or two, the revelations will start to come out about Joe Joyce and about the fact that maybe he didn't train, or maybe there was more injury to the eye, or maybe he couldn't train because of the eye. He was worried about the eye. He needs to get his technique into gear. He needs to get a trainer that's going to teach him to throw punches correctly. And he needs an opponent or two to work on. He needs to be getting like back-to-back fights. And 2024, he needs to at least fight 3 fights. 3 fights. And each fight, he's got the boxing ability, like the basic boxing ability, jab, right hand. And with a good trainer, tighten up his defense. Just tighten up Joe's defense. Got a good chin. I wouldn't worry about that punch that he knocked out with Zhang, because that was a world-class sequence to knock Joyce out. The reason why Joyce has never been knocked out before is because he's never been in with a guy as good as Zhang. Zhang is good. The way he set him up to land that shot, Joe overreached and Zhang punished him for it, because Zhang is a quality opponent. So I would not go back and look at that tape. Oh, I wouldn't go back and look at that tape with Ismail Salas. Absolutely not. They'd probably tell him some rubbish like, hey, Joe, you need to move your head more. Joe, you need to move your head more. No, you need to avoid fighting a guy like Zhang. There are a lot of guys that Joe Joyce could still knock out that do not have the left hand issues. That, look, maybe Joe Joyce is not good against left hands, southpaws. Maybe Joe Joyce is weakness is southpaws. And again, if that's the case, he's been set up. I'm sure he thought he could get the victory, only he prepared the same formula. No, I don't think he could. I don't think he could win that fight. Nah, not me. No chance. He thought he should be fighting in 2024 3-4 times. A basic guy, so he can work on his technique with new trainers. Correct. So we're speaking from the same script here. Joe Joyce, my friend, this boxing world, as far as I'm seeing it from outside looking in, is full of snakes. And if I from the outside can see your team is seriously undermining you, my friend, eagles don't fly with pigeons. And I said this the other day to somebody, or even on my Facebook page. Eagles don't walk the street. Pigeons walk the street. And you've surrounded yourself with some pigeons, my friend. And you should be a world-class heavyweight on the verge of a world title shot. Not looking at 2 back-to-back defeats. Joshua had no choice. He had to fight against Usyk in a mandatory. And he decided to try and box Usyk in the first fight because he wanted to impress Tyson Fury. That's ego for you. So, and Joyce should definitely get the eye looked at, a definite x-ray, because the eye swelled up when he was getting hit on the opposite side of the face, orbital fracture. The question is, why are all these orbital fractures now suddenly happening in boxing? That's what I want to know, because this orbital thing has becoming like increasingly more common. Is it the type of gloves they're using? Is it the type of materials inside the gloves? Are people punching more? Or is there something else we need to be looking into? Errol Spence calls orbital bone damage. GGG calls orbital bone damage. This guy, Zhang, is called orbital bone damage. What's his name? Joyce called orbital bone damage to Daniel Dubois. Where's this coming from? I never heard about this when Ali was fighting, or when Hagler was fighting, or even when Julian Jackson was fighting. And he was a heavy hitter. So where's it all coming from? Where's it coming from? That's what I want to know. But anyway, so those are my thoughts on that. I would seriously advise Joe Joyce not to be talking with his team at all. In my opinion, I think guys are spending too much time sparring rather than in the ring. 59% orbital bone damage was not as prominent, but then again, sparring was not as much, more in the ring. Interesting. What's going on, Anthony Yard? Who did he even fight? Aha. I need to do a video on Anthony Yard as well. I'm going to come back and do a video on Anthony Yard, because as far as I'm concerned, the way I look at it, smoke and mirrors. So I'm going to finish this and do a video on Anthony Yard. I'll be back. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, subscribe. And what would you do if you were managing Joe Joyce? What would be your advice to Joe Joyce? Do you agree with what I said, or do you think I'm being too harsh? Over to you.